Today we're bringing you the 2026 office chair comfort tier list. We have some new low price chairs, and also we'll be ranking the Libernovo for the first time. Remember, ranking for comfort only. Ryan's going to kick it off with the Haworth Fern chair.
Big change in the world of the Haworth Fern on this list. I've been S tier on this chair for every list that we've done, except for our very first list that we did before we got the premium version with no lumbar, no headrest, which I love. I'm demoting the Fern though. I'm coming down from S tier to A tier on the Fern simply because there's another chair out there that I think is just a notch better than it in every aspect. And I also got to just knock it down a little bit simply because I only grade it S tier when it has a specific combination, digital knit, no headrest, no lumbar, so it's pretty specific to that one type of style, and so I'm just going to bring this down to an A tier. I think it's a more fair rank.
Yeah, this really does feel like the prototypical A tier chair. For me, there isn't quite anything that brings it up to that S tier. I do like the narrow backrest. You can kind of see when you're sitting in it, you have a little less restriction. You can really move around. It's flexible on top of that. Personally, I like the lumbar support added in there. Headrest is, of course, we've said for years now, stay away from that headrest. The seat's really nice. Has a little bit more movement in some of the parts, and Haworth does kind of get a little bit of hate on that sometimes, but really it's not a problem if you just kind of keep everything tight. So
yeah, I think number one, this is the newest color that we have here with it's the gradient mesh. Feels a little bit different than the other upholsteries. I think it's got a nice softness to it, but it's not going to be quite as soft as that digital knit. I do like the look of it, of course. Overall, I gave this chair an A in the past. I'm going to stick with the A. I don't think it's changed significantly for me, maybe like Ryan, because I was already at the A. Unlike Ryan, I love the lumbar support, but I definitely would go no headrest. So A overall with everybody, I think.
The Colamy Atlas has been a favorite of ours for a long time. This is one of those chairs where we like it because of the value proposition. But again, in this tier list, we're trying to take away the price. So you take away the price, this is still a really comfortable chair. Has this really nice built-in lumbar curve. So even though it does have some added like an adjustable support system, you almost don't need it because of that curve in the backrest. The seat is really nice, has a good balance of comfort, some cushion, but not too thick. So it's going to be a high C for me.
I think I'm the only one that's ever given this higher than a C. I give this usually a B minus, and I think I'm right there still with this one. As far as comfort's concerned, it's above average in my opinion. The seat's nice and cush. The arm pads are a little firm and they just move a little too easily for me, and that lumbar support in the back is a bit pokey, but that natural curve in the backrest is awesome. I know a ton of people who actually just yank the lumbar support out of the back of the chair and find it to be more comfortable. We haven't done that yet, but I would imagine just from the shape that would be pretty good. So I'm just going to go B minus again.
Like Greg said, slightly above average when we're looking at just pure comfort. The arms aren't the best. They do have four-way adjustment. Again, they move a little bit too much and they are a little bit hard, but they do have some softness to them, so they're not hard plastic. The seat can feel a little bit small just because it has a tapered design. So all of the edges are kind of tapered, so the surface area that you sit on is a little bit smaller. But in terms of comfort, I think the mesh is really good, both in the headrest and the backrest. The seat padding is comfortable, and you can get into a nice position whether you want to work upright or use that fully recline, slightly above average. So we're going to be at a C+ total average on this one.
If you want to see how all the chairs in this list rank, check out our office chair comfort cheat sheet list down in the description. Next up on the list is the Anthros V2. So this is going to be a change mostly in the backrest and in the seat, which I think are two significant changes, especially for comfort specifically. They actually widened and lengthened the seat out, flattened it too, so it's not quite so contoured. Still has those nice cutouts underneath the seat, which give you a lot of comfort and support where it doesn't feel like you're bottoming out, and they actually made these pads a little bit bigger. I like that because they were really kind of pokey almost before, where it didn't feel like a full back. So I really like the chair. One thing I'd love to see to even get it up higher is going to be these arm pads. I still don't love the shape on this. I'd like to see them flattened out a little bit more and just give you a little bit more usable space. My arms kind of slip off the sides. I'm not sure where the other guys are, but yeah, I'm an A on this.
So I'm going to be slightly behind Greg on this one. I'm going to be right at a B+. I think that it's a comfortable chair, definitely in the seat, and the backrest padding is comfortable for sure. I think that it's just missing on two key components for me personally, one seat depth adjustment and two back height adjustment. The position of the backrest kind of makes me have to hunch my back a little bit. I wish that I could adjust the height just a tad bit, and I think it would feel a little bit more supportive. But in terms of the padding, super comfortable, and it does flex with you, so however you move, it will move with you, which I do really like. And then the seat is super unique. With those cutouts, the thick design, you're not going to find that on any other ergonomic chair, but I wish it did have seat depth adjustment so that I didn't have to use the pelvic support as my seat depth adjustment, and I could just use the chair the way that it's kind of meant to be used. I don't think that the arms are a huge detriment. I do think that they could be softer. The recline isn't my favorite compared to all the other high-end chairs, but I still think it's comfortable overall, so I'm going to be at a B+.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way where I have to use that pelvic support to kind of determine where my seat depth is going to be, and then I wonder if I lose a little bit of the overall adjustability because of that. But again, a huge improvement improvement with the new pads and the new style of this. I like how it has that more open backrest, but yet now with the newer version, the pads are a little bigger, so you do have a little more of that upper back support. Very comfortable chair. I'm going to give this a B+, so we'll average out to a B+.
So we got the Ergohuman Gen 2 here. I'm going to be above average on this one for sure. I'm going to be right at a B. I think that this is a very well-rounded chair, and the main reason I'm going to be at a B is just simply fit issues. The armrests don't go quite narrow enough for me. I wish they went a little bit narrower, but the pads themselves are super, super comfortable, and the seat is a little bit firm for my liking. It doesn't have any of that flexibility because it does have that hard frame. It's got kind of a typical mesh seat design, but this one is going to be padded on there, so I think it's better than the mesh version. It just lacks that flexibility, and I think the seat could be a little bit more cush, so I'm going to be at a B.
Yeah, that lack of flexibility does make it a little bit of a different style chair, but for me, I still think it's super comfortable. It's going to be an A for me. I like the newer design. The seat's a little flatter, and you can just never feel like you're hitting any hard edges. I personally like this version we're showing with that leather seat. Mesh backrest also kind of gives you that little bit of a cooler experience by having the mesh back, and I just love that lumbar support. It's pretty strong, I always feel, but for me, because of the mesh in that lower part, you can kind of sink into it, so it doesn't feel like it's poking into my back. Headrest is, I can always get that in a great spot, and I really like the arms, so that's going to be an A for me.
Yeah, there was a couple big changes with this chair from the original version, and the arm pads obviously are one of the best changes, being much more similar to the Aeron chair. They're incredibly soft, like Ryan said. They also changed the design and how they do the seat pad with the one that's a leather upholstered. There's padding beneath the leather, and then there's mesh underneath that, so it gives you more of like the suspended feel. The all mesh version, they flattened out that seat design. It doesn't feel like you hit the front edge anymore. And the biggest thing I think with this one, for me personally, the tension adjustment on this lumbar. For people who don't want a lot of lumbar, you can actually reduce the tension. On the first version, it was just right there all the time in your lower back, and it was just full force. This one you can dampen down quite a bit. Otherwise, widely adjustable. As long as you're not like 5'6" or shorter, you should be able to fit in this one pretty well, up to about 6'3", 6'4". I'm going A tier. I think it was a big improvement overall, and I think it's A tier actually overall with everybody's score.
Looking at the Duolc chair, this is more set up for bigger people. So kind of think about that as we're ranking these chairs, but this does definitely give more space for those bigger users. Has that large backrest, a big open seat. Personally, I think that seat has a really nice balance of that cushion again, has support without making you feel like you're sinking too far into it. You have tons of room on that backrest, so it lets you move around in the chair a little bit. It doesn't have a ton of flexibility, so it doesn't get high marks in that area, but this is going to be a B- for me. I think bigger users would probably rank this a lot higher than that.
This chair for me, if I was a little bit wider and probably a little bit taller, would fit me better. So I think I might rank it a little higher if I fit in it better. So it's a little drawback just for my size, but the seat pad on this thing's insane. It is super cush and actually holds up really well compared to some of the other thicker pads we've had. It's got a nice waterfall front on it, so you're not going to notice that pressure against the back of your legs. And this back is big. I know the video that we had put out was the big back chair, and it really is a bigger back too. So if you're taller, you're really going to like this one. If you're a little bit heavier set too, you're going to have that room between it. The arm pads are nice. It's a fairly basic chair. It's nice and comfortable though. So I'm going to go B- here. I'd probably bump it up if I fit in it a little bit better.
I'm going to be at a C+, not quite a B-, because it just doesn't fit me even quite as much as you guys. But I will say that the seat is super cush. It's very comfortable, and I do like the backrest. It's got that mesh style, kind of like the Vera, where it just supports you through the entire range of the recline and your entire back without having to have some overcomplicated lumbar system support. I think that the arms are adjustable enough. I think they could be a little bit more adjustable, but it's not really meant for someone my size anyway. So if I was bigger, taller, like these guys have reiterated, I would rank this higher. But for the way that it fits me, I got to be at a C+. So we're going to be at a B- overall.
Well, I've got bad news for the Steelcase Gesture. I actually took this one down from last year, so I had this at a B tier. Biggest thing for me, number one, I like a lot of lumbar support. This chair just doesn't have significant lumbar support. The seat pad on it, it has this like slightly pitched forward feel to it. Honestly, the big thing for me, the reason why I'm even giving this what I'm going to give it, is the arm pads are widely adjustable, and it's got this incredible headrest. If you get the headrest, it bumps it up a little bit, but these armrests are crazy. The cantilever arms are unlike any other that I've tested. I know that the Leap has widely adjustable. These even get more narrow than those. You know, if you're that mobile gamer or you just like to sit locked in your chair, you're gonna love this. This headrest is definitely S tier, but overall, because of the lack of lumbar and that seat pad, a little too thin in my tailbone, slightly slanted forward, I'm gonna go C+ here. I feel bad, but it is what it is.
I'm actually going the opposite direction of Greg here. So I've historically been at around a B+, on the Gesture. I'm bumping this up to an A-. One, because the more chairs that we bring in, the more appreciation I have for chairs like the Gesture, because it's very difficult for us to bring in chairs that we are even willing to put in an A tier or a B tier. And so I just am gaining appreciation for the Gesture, especially because we got the version with the headrest. This is the only high-end chair, in my opinion, that you can get that actually has a very good headrest. I think it's got perfect lumbar support for me. The arms are amazing. I don't love the seat. That's my biggest gripe. I think the seat pad is a little too thin, and I also share the same sentiment as Greg, that it feels like you're pitched forward a little bit. But when this thing has the headrest and you're using it in a good position, I do think that it's an A tier chair. I'm going to put it at an A-.
Personally, I just love that headrest. We've had this version for, is it a couple years now? And for me, it really keeps it up there because I would be tempted to bring it down because of that kind of seat sliding issue. And to me, the arms even feel like they're a little bit slanted outward. But now these aren't issues that would be bad enough that like it wouldn't make me want to return the chair. They're not that bad, but they are things that keep it from being higher than that. And again, the headrest brings it up to an A. So that's going to average out to a B.
Guitar players, can they use this?
Definitely.
Yeah, the arms get down super low on it. So if you're playing guitar, this could be a good option.
The ProtoArc is one of the new low price options on the list. I'm going to be right at C tier on this one. This chair doesn't wow me, but it doesn't have anything that is like a deal breaker for me. A lot like the Ticova chair, where the arms are decent. They have decent range. They're not rock hard. The headrest is functional. It's usable. I don't like how it has the plastic edges around the backrest and the headrest, but it's not so uncomfortable that I wouldn't recommend the chair or I wouldn't want to sit in the chair. I think the seat is okay, and it has a good enough adjustment package to be right there in that mid tier. So I'm going to be right at a C on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit higher at a B-. I do like how that adjustment package, again, gives you some range so that you can fit taller, smaller users. And that high backrest I really like. The headrest is also big, so you can move around a little bit in the chair and not feel like you're hitting that edge on the headrest. The arms, they're nothing to, be super excited about, but a lot of times, chairs on a lower price range are going to be really uncomfortable. And this is not the case here. Really a great bargain here. So it's going to be a B- for me.
So I have actually sat in this chair more than everybody else. I gave this thing a good run, probably for about 8 weeks, I think I sat in this. As far as a chair under $200 is concerned, which I know we're not supposed to talk about, this thing's pretty amazing. I mean, the fact that it has these nice big wide arm pads kind of gets rid of the need for a lot of the adjustments that you would want to see in a lot of the other chairs. The seat pad is somewhat firm, but it's nice and big. I love the fact that you got this adjustable lumbar. Not only does it move up and down, but you can actually adjust how firm or how far it goes into your back if it's like really up in there, or you can kind of back it off. And this multi-dimensional headrest is insane for how much money this chair is. I'm going to give this one a B-. I think this is the highest rating I've given on any chair that's around this range, and I think it's a huge step up from Ticova. I think that ends up being about a B- for everybody, kind of ranked in there, even with Ryan being a hater at C.
With the OMS chair, you're going to get tons of adjustability. So this has basically everything you could ask for. It has the back height, seat depth, tons of arm adjustments. What's nice about that, you can really get it to fit you well. The only negative there is it does add a little bit of that sound. Like you can hear is a little bit of movement in some of the parts, which doesn't really affect comfort, but it maybe affects my brain of how much I would love to sit in this chair. So it does have that thicker seat, and I kind of like the contour. Even though it looks really aggressive, you don't necessarily feel that. You can sink into it nicely, but it can get a little bit warmer than some of these other chairs we've talked about. So for me, this is going to be a solid B.
For me, I think it's quite a bit above average. The seat pad is one of the things you'll notice right away. You can see it's thicker. It's got this deep contour in it, but when you actually sit in it, it's not a type of chair where you like sink so far down it kind of locks you in. It almost sits you up on top of the poof. These arm pads are insanely massive. There's width, depth, pivot adjustments, so you're going to get good range, and you can actually get them even wider with the way that it connects on the bottom here. And then you can see it's got this nice ratchet back height for the backrest, meaning you can move the lumbar up and down and get that backrest a little bit taller. One thing you don't see is there is a headrest option, which we've actually rated as an A. So if you put that on here, this chair is easily an A for me.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. I'm not going to be quite up to the A tier on this one, but I do like a lot of things about the chair. One, the seat, like Greg said, it's one of the few chairs that you're going to get that actually has a thick padded seat, but it's not going to affect you negatively by, crunching your lower back down or feeling like you're sinking super far into the seat and making you warm. And I think the arms are borderline S tier on this thing because the pads are huge, they're very comfortable, and it has potentially the biggest adjustment range of any chair in the room. My biggest gripe with the chair is going to be just the backrest. I don't don't think that it has the most comfortable mesh. The frame can feel a little bit plasticky, and for someone who doesn't love a lot of lumbar support, I feel like the chair's lacking in lumbar support. So that's my main reason for not pushing it up to A tier. So we're going to be at a B+ average overall on this.
All right, next up on the list, we've got the Ticova, and this has been a chair that really has shown up a lot in our list, and one of the first chairs that we brought in that was like $120 or $30 a lot of times, that offered quite a bit of comfort. This chair actually recently has gone down a little bit for me, especially with seeing that ProtoArc, which was just a few more before this one. The arm pads, a little bit firm. They are adjustable, but not quite as adjustable as I'd like to see in this lumbar. It isn't quite as comfortable as the ProtoArc. It kind of has a little more jabby in there. Same thing with the headrest. I think it's good. It's just stuff like this happens. Obviously, from a comfort standpoint, it's decent. But overall, I'm going to say for where we're at on this one, I'm going to drop it down to a C- from a C. I think there's, for what you're paying, it's pretty tough to get this any higher. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm going to be right there at the same rank. This has been my #1 go-to recommended chair for under $200 for years now. But being realistic about what you're getting, yes, I have been very high on this chair for the price. But again, it's a sub-$200 chair. Is it going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Is it going to have all of the adjustments that you need? No. And does it have a seat that's not going to be quite as comfortable as some other chairs? For sure. But I think the backrest is really comfortable. I do think that it offers good comfort. And the recline on this thing is insane. It's one of the only chairs that you're going to find in this price range that you can go back as far as you can. And so if you're looking for a good type lounging chair to put in like a home office where you're going to be watching movies, YouTube videos, and doing office work, I think this is a great chair for sub-$200. But again, keeping expectations in check, I'm going to be at a C-.
Yeah, I think what happens is we start to bring in more and more chairs, and then all of a sudden your expectations change, or like what we think is a C tier can suddenly become a little different. For me, I do move this down a little bit to a C-. Yeah, probably used to be a pretty solid C for all of us, but yeah, again, compared to some others, it just doesn't quite match that level. So C- all across.
For me, the Steelcase Amia is going to be your prototypical A-tier chair. I think it is phenomenally comfortable, but I don't think it quite has the extras to push it up to that S tier. But when we look at the seat comfort, the pad is amazing. It sits really comfortable. It doesn't quite have the flexibility that you're going to see on chairs like the Gesture or the Leap. The arms, though, phenomenal. And then the backrest is great. I think that the lumbar system in the Amia on its own is more comfortable than the one in the Leap because it's built in. It's actually more incorporated with the back than the Leap chair, which sounds kind of backwards, being that it's quite a bit less expensive. But I just think that overall it's super, super comfortable, but I'm going to be at an A on this one.
I just love the Amia seat, possibly my favorite of any chair out here. The only downside, it's not even really a downside, is I don't like the backrest quite as much as the Leap. So I'm kind of going to reserve that S tier for different chairs later in the list here. But kind of like Ryan said, I mean, the arms are just amazing. That lumbar feels really nice, how it's incorporated in the backrest. Very unique design, whereas the Leap is more like a piece that you can easily take out. So all around, it's an amazing chair. That's why it's going to still be at an A for me. But man, that seat is S tier.
It's really interesting because Ryan's take on lumbar is so much different than mine, but we both really enjoy this chair. Like, I feel like it has enough lumbar for me to be comfortable. The arms on these are what you would get on the Leap, which is significantly more expensive. The seat pad is by far my most comfortable seat overall of all of the chairs. I know it doesn't have seat tilt limiter, but what I do is I just unlock this back right here, unlock it, and I crank my tension, and then I just kind of free float with the friction in the mechanism to eliminate what the tilt limiter does, basically. Overall, this chair is fantastic. I sit in these all the time, all day long. It's an S tier chair for me all around. I know that we've got a couple people here that don't see it that way, and so I'm going to have to go A tier overall, but guys, this thing's awesome.
The Fractal Refine is kind of that chair if you want to keep some of that gaming aesthetic and bring it into a chair that has some comfort a little bit closer to our typical office chair. Problem is it does still have some problems. It doesn't have enough seat depth. For me at 6'2", it does have some good things going on. Like it has the bolsters on the seat, which normally I never like a bolster, but thankfully they're not real restrictive. It's almost more like a looks thing there. And the headrest, it does feel pretty nice, and I like how that height adjustment works. So this is going to be a C+ for me.
Yeah, this chair is interesting. I mean, the thing is the concept from a gaming chair standpoint, I feel like they went to the places that they needed to go. They just needed to go a little bit further. The hard seat pad is pretty consistent across gaming chairs. And this one almost has like this crown that forms across it. So it really feels shallow because it is, but then it almost actually accentuates it because it drops off behind your butt. So it really doesn't have great support there. And it's incredibly vertical. The headrest, though, is definitely one of the bright spots on this chair for sure. It's nice and comfortable, soft. You can remove it too if you want want to. And then the arm pads, while they're widely adjustable, they just aren't quite as soft as I'd like to see, and they move too easily. So this is a chair that I actually downgraded. I had it at a C+. I'm going to drop it down to C. I think that looking at the ranks, it looks like this one might actually go down overall.
When I initially ranked this one, I was at a B, B-, that area. And I think one of the reasons that I was so high on this chair is because it is such an improvement to other gaming chairs that it feels like it's better than it is. So if you were to compare this chair to just like the Razer Isker, the Secretlab Titan, DX Racer, those chairs, this thing blows it out of the water. But when we compare it to other ergonomic chairs, it definitely has huge flaws. The seat is a major flaw. It is so firm. Everything on the chair feels very firm. It's not flexible. It doesn't move. I do think that they did some great things. I actually disagree with the arms. I think they're really comfortable. I think they're cush. I think they're soft, and they're hugely adjustable. The lumbar adjustment is two-way adjustable, which is awesome. It's built in. If this was a gaming chair list, I'd probably be higher than a B tier. But if we're going to compare it to all of the ergonomic chairs out there, I'm going to be at a C+. We're going to be at a C+ overall.
Well, this is one of the chairs that actually didn't move in the rankings, the SIHOO M18. It's been terrible since the start. Really no redeemable qualities on it. It's got these awful curves on these incredibly firm armrests right here. Somehow this thing ranks like 4.5 out of 5 stars or something like that on Amazon with like some 10,000 plus reviews. I don't understand it. The seat is like a rock. Again, everything about this one is really uncomfortable for me, but the thing that's a deal breaker is the seat. It is a rock. So I'm going F tier as always.
Yeah, I've been F tier, D tier on this one since we got it in the office. I just have no way to push it out of F tier because there's nothing that I like about the chair. The seat, rock hard. It's not super adjustable, so you can't make it fit you very well. The backrest, I can feel the plastic frame on it anytime that I move or get outside of the little area, and I'm not a wide-shouldered person, so the headrest is okay, but okay isn't going to be good enough to save the seat being terrible, the arms being terrible, and the backrest being terrible. I'm at an F tier.
This is also kind of that effect of us just bringing in more chairs like I talked about earlier, which makes this chair look even worse. Those arms with that contour is just awful for me. But either way, we are F tier all across.
The Herman Miller Embody is a chair that I've had in S tier basically since we got the chair in. I should say the gaming version of it, not the standard version. The gaming version is a little bit different, but this is going to be like the Fern for me. I'm going to drop this one from the historic S tier that I've had on this thing down to an A+. And the reason being, again, there's another chair out there that I think is more comfortable in every single aspect as this one. And when I just think about the chair, my willingness to use it compared to other chairs, and the drawbacks that it does have, I mean, the lumbar support can be a little bit pokey. The seat isn't super flexible and can be kind of wonky with the seat depth adjustment. I can't keep this one in S tier. I got to bring this one down to an A+.
This was kind of the first chair I ever sat in that was one of these high-end office chairs. I loved it right away, and then, we bring in all these other chairs, and then you got to figure out how does it rank. For me, I'm still at an S tier here, and actually, it kind of went up because we have that Atlas headrest on there, so adding the headrest brings it even further up for me. A lot of people have talked about the shoulder roll issue up at the top. I never find this to be a big issue because I just kind of dial back the back angle, and that kind of fixes it, and then, again, adding that headrest kind of keeps a little bit of extra pressure off the top of the back for me. I love the arms, the big wide pads, and I kind of like the lack of adjustability because it makes them really solid. Going to be an S for me.
Yeah, I mean, unlike Ryan, I'm actually going the opposite way that Ryan went on this one, and I think it's more of a peer pressure thing. Everybody loves this chair, and I've been giving it an A+ for absolutely ever because of that shoulder roll. However, I'm going to go and bump mine up here. It's ridiculously comfortable. The seat's insane. The armrests are massive, again, and they accommodate what you would normally get from like depth adjustment, all the range that you need to have good support. I get great support in this chair. I'm going S tier on this one. So Ryan dropped it down. I increased it up. It actually ends up staying right at S tier.
The neutral posture 8000 chair. You'll notice we don't even have this one in the studio. That's because two of our sales guys have taken these models home, but that's how much they love them, and they have the option to sit in basically any of these chairs. So that says a lot about the chair. It has the more thicker pads in both the backrest and the seat, and even in that headrest. So if you want to go with that style, this is definitely a great pick here. I do find it very comfortable, but I'd prefer a little more of that flexibility and kind of more of the open feeling. So it's not going to be ranked quite as high. I'm going to be at a B.
Yeah, this is one of the chairs that I actually bumped up a little bit. The reason for it, the headrest is S tier headrest. It is a game changer with tons of flexibility. You can even get it out of the way, and the armrests are the same way. They are the most adjustable armrests. They spin full 360. They've got a ton of range on them. The seat pad's nice and soft. The only thing I'd say is the recline's a little bit different. So if you don't like that, like sort of lock you in kind of feel, you want that free floating, I'm gonna go B+ on this one. I think it's just an all around really well built chair, and it's gonna be super comfortable for a lot of people.
Yeah, this one's kind of a weird chair for me because it has features on it that I would consider S tier. Like Greg said, you're not going to find a better headrest than on this chair. And the arms too. They're big, the pads are big, they're super adjustable, and they're very soft. So you're probably not going to find a pair of arm pads that are better. Both of those are going to be S tier. But when we look at the recline, I'd probably be at around a D tier because you're going to get a center tilt mechanism that's going to kind of make your knees go up. And even though it looks like it's super thickly padded in the backrest and the seat, this isn't going to feel super plush. It's very supportive, and I do think it's comfortable, but like Robert said, I wish it was a little bit more flexible, and I wish it felt a little more open. The backrest is a little concave. While I'm in love with the headrest and the arms, and I think that the seat in the back have good comfort, I can't get it to that A tier, so I'm going to be at a B tier with these guys, B overall.
All right, here it is, rage bait material for all the IKEA lovers. Just like my kids say, I'm definitely about to rage bait you, so hold on tight. This chair right here is nothing about it I like really, except for maybe the tilt on it and the fact that you can return it for an entire year because you're going to want that, most likely because you will be returning it. The arm pads don't really provide anything. The lumbar is in this awkward position, which I'm not sure if it's good for really anybody. And the seat is, while it looks thick and like, you know, you've got a lot of padding there, I kind of just sink to the bottom on it. Just overall on this thing, I'm going solid F tier. I've been F tier. I'm staying at F tier. I know you can use this, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, I'm going to be in a similar spot. I mean, this is a chair that I believe I had as high as D, maybe C minus at one point on certain lists, just because we hadn't had as many chairs brought in. But the more chairs that we bring in, the lower that this chair continues to fall. And it's because it lacks basic adjustments. You can't adjust the seat depth. You can't adjust the arms in any way. The headrest is not adjustable, and the lumbar is not adjustable at all. And it just literally digs into your back. It feels like someone folded up a towel, froze it overnight, and then shoved it in the backrest of the chair. If I had to use this chair, I'd find a way to cut that thing out. It has a really good recline. That's the only thing that I like about the chair, but everything else about the chair is F tier to me. So I can't pull it out of the F tier ranking just because the recline is good. So F tier for me.
Yeah, Greg kind of stole my line there, but the only thing I like about this chair is the fact that a lot of people have access to go try it out in person, because then you'll find out that it's not a chair you probably want to buy. So F tier all across.
I said that the Steelcase Amia was my prototypical A-tier chair, super comfortable all around. The Haworth Soji is going to be that for me, but in the B tier. Really well-rounded chair, phenomenal for the price. Not anything on this chair that would prevent me from recommending it to someone or buying it myself. It's got a good recline action, multiple locking positions. The armrests are super adjustable. They're soft enough for me to be comfortable in it for long hours. I think the seat is a little bit firm, but I do like that on a chair. And the backrest is really comfortable with adjustable lumbar support. Very well-rounded chair. It does everything better than average, so I'm going to be at a B.
Yeah, Ryan said this really well, where we were at the Markus, where there was like no feature we liked. With the Soji, there's no feature that we don't like. So all around, really nice comfort. The seat is very nice. The backrest, Greg kind of showed you that flexibility. So even at my 6'2", I have plenty of space on the seat. I have room on the backrest. The arms adjust enough for me, even if they're not the most soft padding. They're still really nice. Has good adjustable lumbar there too. So again, I'm with Ryan. Solid B.
So this is a chair that I've historically given a B like you guys on. Today I'm going to jump it up just a little bit. And the reason for it is there's a lot to really like about this chair. Everything about it's pretty much above average. We've had this one for a long time and it's still just as good as it ever, like from the start was. It hasn't been degraded in any way and it's been sat in quite a bit. I just like it because it has all the options that you need. I'm going to bump it to B+. It's not quite an A, but it's definitely better than I think what you find for most B chairs. And that's the thing. We've got so many new chairs in here now. I think this is easily better than the other B tier chairs right now. So I'm going B+. It's going to be a B overall, just with everybody being around the B.
The BTOD Ameap chair. So this is an Amia chair, but now it has the Leap seat. So for me, you part this out a little bit. You got the Amia backrest, which is an A. For me, the Leap seat is an A. The arms, they're probably actually an S tier. Overall, put that all together, this is going to be an A tier chair for me. I could use a little more height. 6'2", I'm getting a little borderline on that. I think if you're 6'3" or higher, that backrest might be a problem, but this is an amazing chair. So it's going to be an A.
Big change here for me is the fact that now that we have with our chairs, we have the new seat pad and we have the extra padding. It bumps up the seat pad just enough where I get over the hurdle of just the regular Leap chair not having quite enough padding for me. So I'm actually going to take this thing into the S tier. The seat pad, that was the only drawback for me before, but adding that extra little bit of foam is nice. It's got the amazing armrest, four-way arms, the lumbar support that just gives me the right amount of lumbar. I know it doesn't have the, the big, sort of like name recognition coming from the Amia, like it's not the Leap, but it is just a workhorse overall, and I can sit in this thing again for long periods, the entire day for weeks and months at a time. So
I can't quite push it to S tier, but I'm about as close as you can get. So I'm at an A with the Amia, and when you put the Leap seat on there, I think that it's an upgrade because the Leap seat, while some people don't like it as much because it can feel a little bit thinner due to the contour of it, I think that it's more comfortable. I like the contour of it, and it's definitely more flexible. You can't even argue that. And so I think that by putting the Leap seat on the Amia chair, you are actually upgrading the chair. And so I'm going to bring it from an A up to an A+. I'm going to be at an A+ overall.
If you need a new chair, the Colamy Neza might be the best option for you. Honestly, this thing, again, another Colamy chair that just dropped, is going to be a nice alternative to the Atlas. I think the seat pad's great. It's got this nice tall backrest, and it's almost got that digital knit kind of feel to it, which is a little bit of added softness. It's got a poly back underneath here, so it's really flexible, which people are going to like. And again, if you've got taller kind of upper torso, you'll appreciate that with your shoulders, getting that full support. The arm pads, though, they're kind of bricked. These things are a little bit hard, and I wish that they had just a bit better range for me. I'm going to go C on this one. It's going to be a nice all-around chair. It's not quite as good as the Atlas, though, so if you're in the Colamy brand, I think you still want to go that route.
Yeah, I'm going to be kind of similar sentiment here. I think that they definitely took some design elements from the Fern, which is smart. I think that's why it looks like digital knit. I think that's why they got the kind of the design in the back. One thing where it is lacking, in my opinion, is that lumbar support. You definitely aren't going to get a pronounced lumbar curve or any ability to increase that lumbar. So if you're super dead set on having a bunch of lumbar support, then this one might not be the best. But the backrest is flexible. The seat is really cush. I was surprised by how cush it was. I do think the armrest could be a little bit softer, but again, this isn't $1,000 chair. Overall, I'm going to be at a C, so just kind of average across the board.
The reason why I like the Neza chair is because that high, wide backrest. So it has that kind of extra comfort, like the extra little plushness that you get from like the Fern digital knit. So I do like that. Seat has a good amount of cushion to it. Again, similar to the Atlas. Where the Atlas maybe shines is it has that nice headrest, has probably better lumbar support, whereas the Neza, I like that high, tall backrest. So altogether, it's going to be a C+ for me, and it's going to average at a C+.
The Herman Miller Sayl for me is going to be a lot like the Haworth Soji in that there's not really anything about the chair that makes me absolutely hate the chair, and I do like almost every aspect about the chair. Is it perfect? No, but I think it's got a very comfortable seat. I like the armrests a lot. I think that they're very soft, and there are huge adjustment ranges, and then the backrest for me is really flexible. Sometimes if you do the patented Russian twist, maybe you'll feel the top of the backrest on your shoulder blades, which isn't always the best, but the rubber-like material that they use on the backrest is super soft. It's very supportive. It does have adjustable lumbar support. I don't feel it a ton. So overall, I think that this is a great chair. Just for me, probably fits me a little bit better than the other two guys in this room, which is why I can rank it as a B, above average in all aspects, in my opinion.
Yeah, Ryan said it really well. I agree with a lot of those aspects where there's a lot of parts of the chair I really like. The flexibility, the seat is nice. The arms, even though they're a little simple, they still are nicely padded. So it kind of makes up for some of the other lack of adjustability. Again, the problem for me is I'm just a little too tall for this. So the backrest, like Ryan said, I can feel that top edge too much when I move around, and I wish I had a little more seat depth. So if they could give me a larger version of this chair, I'd probably love it. But for my size, I'm going to have to give it a C.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about this is that the backrest for me, it just is way too short. Like Robert said, and I'm quite a bit shorter than you. I can't get that underneath my shoulder blades, so like that is a deal killer. It's the biggest thing for me on this chair, and I think if you're my height, 6 foot or up, it's just not going to work for you. I got to just lower it down into the C tier because it's going to limit how many people can sit in it comfortably. Otherwise, it's a Herman Miller chair. It's more affordable than others, but it definitely feels like it's not their more upper tier too when it comes to just the overall feel of the chair. It's just a little bit lighter, a little bit lesser. So overall, I think with all the scores, we end up right at C.
The Haworth Zody often gets kind of overshadowed by its younger brother, the Fern. These are both A-tier chairs for me, but kind of for very different reasons. The Zody is going to give you that wider, tall backrest, which I really like kind of having that support up on my shoulders, whereas the Fern is more open with a narrow backrest. Now, I actually do like them both, and the Fern kind of makes up for that by having all that flexibility on the top. The arms are definitely in that A-tier level, just like I would also place the Fern. And moving to the seat, it's nice and comfortable, kind of that thinner style, but still giving you plenty of support. I do like the different positions, kind of the different styles of seating that this adds. So for me, it's going to be a solid A.
This chair is interesting because the first Zody I didn't love because of that way that it kind of set you forward. They actually fixed this to put you in a much more neutral position. I don't think it gets talked about enough. It's like the most underrated A-tier chair that's been on our list. It's a solid A for me. There's nothing wrong with this chair really overall. I mean, maybe the backrest being a little bit softer, but other than that, the seat's great. It's got awesome adjustments. It feels more solid than the Fern chair, which I guess isn't surprising considering it's like the chair that they've had for the longest. I don't really think you can go wrong with this one. I think it's a solid A for me.
Yeah, this is one of those chairs where I was actually going back and forth whether I should bump this up to S tier, just because there's really nothing on the chair that I dislike, and I like everything about the chair. I think the seat is super comfortable. The arms are very comfortable and crazy adjustable. The backrest is really comfortable, and it has a unique lumbar adjustment system where you can change the tension on one side and not the other. So if you kind of like to switch it up a little bit, you can do that. It's got a great recline. You can upgrade to the dual posture mode or whatever, so you can use it with a standing desk. I will say though that it's not quite as good as my true S tier chair when it just comes to overall comfort. But man, like Greg said, this has to be the most slept on chair in the entire industry, especially for the price that they sell it for. I'm going to be at an A+ on this one, as close as you can get to S tier. So overall, we're going to be at an A.
Our very own BTOD Akir. This is actually the one with the leather seat. So we've got the option to do the fabric sort of like mesh over this padded seat. This is the leather version. I think this one actually improves the seat comfort quite a bit. I know people like the thicker seat pad that comes with this, but I think the mesh, the fabric, is just too soft. This actually gets you kind of support up, almost like the Yes chair where you don't sink down as far. It will be a little bit warmer. The back on it is nice, tall. I'm about, I'd say a little bit maybe over average for height. So if you're shorter, this probably won't work that well for you. And you can tell that the arms sit out a little bit wider than maybe I'd want them to. All the chair, as far as I'm concerned, is nice and comfortable. It's just a little bit too wide yet for me. So I'm going to go B. I bumped it up from B-, and that is mostly because of this seat.
Yeah, I'm going to be in a similar spot. I actually think that Greg's going to be a little bit of a hater here because he does fit in the chair better than me. And the only reason I'm downgrading it to a B is because I don't really fit in the chair. But I think it's a comfortable chair overall. The seat is really comfortable. One of the few chairs, I think we've only had 2 on the list so far, that actually have thick seats. We do not like to promote thick seats because by ergonomic standards, you're really not supposed to have a thick seat. But I think they did a great job with this one. The arms are cush enough to be comfortable to use it for 6 to 8 hours if you need to. I think the headrest is really underrated on this chair. It's got 2-way adjustment. You can use it in an actual active upright position and still be supported, kind of like the Ergohuman, or you can use it when you're reclining back, which is nice. I do wish that the lumbar wasn't quite as pokey, just because I don't like the pronounced lumbar support, so it is a little bit too pronounced for me, and then the chair is a little bit too wide, so I don't fit in it perfectly. But just from a pure comfort standpoint, I'm going to be at a B.
Yeah, so I do fit in this chair well, so that's a bonus for me. And I do like that seat with the leather. It's definitely has a little more of a firm feeling than that full fabric version, which is a little bit too plush for my liking. I also like that big backrest, so it's kind of similar to the Zody we just talked about, where it's high, it's wide, and again, that mesh gives you a little more of a cooling feeling for those that like that. It's just not necessarily my preferred style overall, so that's why I'm going to keep it at a B, but overall, we're going to be at a B.
The HOLLUDLE is one of our new chairs. Doesn't have a ton of wow factor for me, unfortunately. The seat is okay. The arms are okay, not super adjustable. The headrest is okay, feels kind of plasticky on the frame. The one thing that I really notice about the chair, and I know right away from sitting in it that I wouldn't be able to use this chair, is that it does not sit even close to upright. You are going to be at a somewhat recline no matter how you want to use the chair. So for me, that's probably going to be a deal breaker. I'm probably being a little bit generous here, giving it a C-, considering that I personally wouldn't really be able to use the chair the way that I use the chair, but I'm going to be at a C-.
Yeah, for me, this chair does have a little bit of a shorter seat, which I don't love. It has a little bit of a harder edge at the front of the seat pad as well, but that's still going to be a C for me. I don't hate any aspect of it, and to me, I think it's a little bit better than the Ticova chair, not quite as nice as those Colamy chairs, so that's why it sits in that C. I do like the headrest too. It's pretty wide, maybe a little bit hard to adjust, but it does have some little added comfort there.
Yeah, this is one of the chairs that I actually found recently, and I think it's a bigger overall chair, so if you're, above average for size, I think you'll appreciate it. The seat pad is really comfortable, I think, personally. I've sat in it quite a bit, and it's been pretty good for me. Headrest, nice and big. The armrests, while they're not super adjustable, they are bigger pads, and they do get in narrow enough for me to get that good support where I don't have to kind of stretch out in the bigger chair. It's a fairly basic chair, though, so, you're not going to get all the bells and whistles that you'd expect from more expensive chairs, but overall, for me, I actually think this is slightly above average. You got the depth adjustment back here on the lumbar. It's got a nice big thick padded lumbar, and unlike the guys that are, especially Ryan, I actually do fit this backrest quite a bit, so I like it. I'm gonna go C+. I think overall we're gonna be right around that C though, so pretty much what you'd expect around that price.
Branch Ergo Pro. This is one of those chairs where they did an upgraded version, and to me, they did actually make it a lot better. Unfortunately, they didn't quite go far enough with some of the areas. Let's say where it did get better is the backrest. The old Branch had just a super loose mesh, so you just sank way into the chair. Now, this is a lot better. And the headrest also feels pretty nice to me. It's pretty wide, and again, has enough room so you can move around a little bit in it. The seat is a little bit too thick for me, and I sink too far down, and it doesn't quite have enough depth, so I had a C down. I think I'm going to have to go C-.
This chair, I am going to downgrade from my previous rank. This is just, it's not there. It's weird because like Robert said, it's got this thick seat pad, but it's only in the front. In the back, there's not as much padding and you bottom out on this thing. And I actually noticed the way that this is curved in, I notice right away when I'm in the chair that it hits my shoulders, especially if I just try to broaden out at all. Unfortunately, this one, I'm going to go D+. There's other chairs in the branch line that I think are more comfortable too that you spend less money on.
Yeah, I think the chair is very mid. I don't think that it does anything super well. I'm going to put this at C tier, just the value proposition. I think that you're going to see that this chair lines up with a lot of other chairs that are going to be lower priced, and I think that's the biggest issue. Does it have some decent features? Yes. Does it have some things that are going to make some people not like the chair at all? It definitely does. I'm going to be at a C on this one, and we're going to be at a C overall.
So Steelcase Leap chair, I kind of alluded to this when I talked about the Ameap chair, which was the Amia frame with the Leap seat. I upgraded that chair, and the reason for it is because now that the refurbs have that extra padding in there, of course this goes away from the brand new one. If you add that extra padding, you don't feel like you bottom out quite as much. I know it's just subjective, and it's my opinion, not everybody's, but that paired with the fact that obviously this is without question the best backrest in the business. Super flexible. You've got the ability to really do that Russian twist that Ryan likes to do. It's got insanely good lower support. You can adjust and fine tune where it hits your back. You can adjust the depth on the knob here as well. The seat pad is incredibly flexible as well. Because I move around in my chair all the time, this has always been just a really great all-around chair. Adding that extra thickness to the seat pad did it for me, and now we've gotten this thing over. So I'm S tier on this one for the first time ever.
Yeah, I'm actually going to bump it up even further than S. We're going S plus on this one, which is the highest rank that I'm willing to give to a chair. For me, this is my unicorn of office chairs, and this chair is why I downgraded the Fern and the Embody to A plus, simply because they don't stack up to what this chair offers for me. If I could sit in one chair for the rest of my life, it would be the Leap without question. It's got an S tier seat, S tier arms, S tier backrest, and while I've complained about the recline in the past, I've actually grown to love the recline on the Leap. One thing that I've noticed about chairs like the Aeron and the Embody is that they have such a smooth recline that I just don't get as much stuff done because I'm just moving around in the chair more, whereas the Leap still gives me the same ability to kick back and lounge if I want to. I just don't have that rocking feeling. A lot of people say, how can you give the Leap an S tier if it doesn't have a headrest? I just don't need a headrest, and honestly, I think that if you put a headrest on the Leap, it would take away from what makes the backrest so great, so this is S plus all day.
Yeah, Ryan said it really well. I think I do personally prefer those reclines on the Herman Miller, but it's true. You do kind of have to lock them up. Otherwise, you do have that tendency to always recline. I'm not quite up there with an S for this one, just because I do prefer that Amia seat, but it's still overall, this is an amazing chair, and I do really like that higher backrest. All total, we got an S plus, S, A, it's going to be an S.
The Eurotech Vera for me is an awesome chair. Super, super comfortable. Two specific features that I absolutely love about the chair. Number one, the seat. It has arguably the most comfortable seat pad of any chair that I've used. It doesn't quite have the same flexibility in the seat pan as a lot of other chairs, but the pad itself, top tier. And then the backrest. The backrest is incredible. It's not overly complicated. It doesn't have an adjustable lumbar support system or anything, but the natural curve and the style of mesh that they chose just makes it conform to your back, and it really supports you from your lower back all the way up through your upper back, which I really love. The arms don't have the best height adjustment range. They're a little bit firm and then a little bit smooth, which sometimes makes my arms slide off. That's the only reason why I'm going to put it at a B+. But if you're looking for a chair that has amazing backrest, amazing seat, this is a great option for you for sure.
He was raving about the seat. I would rave even more about the backrest. Just love that curve that just built into the chair. You'll see it doesn't have any added adjustable lumbar, which you maybe think is a problem, but you really don't need it because of the way the mesh, the tension's just right, so that kind of hits you in a good spot in your back. For me, the only real big thing that I knock it down for would be those arms. Again, it's just, they're too high for me, which might not be a problem for most people. For me personally, I'm just kind of picky about that, so I'll be at a high B.
This chair has the ultimate back hammock. It is just like this free-floating experience that doesn't have like anything protruding in the wrong spots, and it doesn't have a separate lumbar. It's just that perfect curve in your lower back, and I think it fits most people really well. The only drawback for me is the firmness probably on the arms and how easily they move. I'm going to go A tier, which I have for the past. I'm going to keep it at A. I think it puts us right around B+.
The Staples Dexley. So mesh seat, about $150. This is kind of a recipe for disaster. But again, this is the nice thing is you're able to check this one out at a Staples store. You can test it out for yourself, see if you like it before purchasing, or easy to return. But unfortunately, it has a lot of the problems that mesh chairs have with hard frame edges. The front edge isn't resolved properly. So this is going to be an F for me.
Yeah, we swapped the Hyken for the Dexley, and the result is the same. It's just not comfortable. The front edge of the seat is terrible. The arm pad pad's maybe one of the only few bright spots because they're decent for the price point. It's got a big headrest, but I feel the hard plastic on it, unfortunately. And yeah, the backrest, the frame on this backrest is just always kind of hitting in the wrong areas. So for $150 and the fact that you can check it out locally, I'd probably highly recommend before you do that, because I'm just going to, much like having the hiking in here, this one's an F tier for me as well.
Yeah, there's not much more to say. This is clearly an F-tier chair for me. Nothing about it is really redeeming. The seat is not comfortable. The backrest is not comfortable. The headrest isn't even comfortable. I think it's just a clear F-tier here across the board.
The Ergohuman Extreme is from the Ergohuman lineup, but this is sort of a little bit of a downgrade from the Ergohuman chair. You'll feel like things like the armrests are nice and comfortable. It does have that new version of the seat where it's got sort of like a more flattened out design, similar to like the Aeron Remastered chair, where they've gotten rid of some of this pressure that you'll feel in the front of the seat. I just think overall this one isn't quite as comfortable as the regular Ergohuman chair, and it doesn't have the leather seat option, which I actually prefer. The lumbar isn't quite as pronounced either, which Ryan I think will probably like more on this one, but you do get the widely adjustable headrest and you do have some flexibility with it. I'm just going to go B+, so above average, but not quite to that A tier status.
Yeah, this is the extreme version of the Ergohuman. And while the name is pretty terrible, I actually really like the chair, which is pretty surprising for an all-mesh design. I'm typically down on mesh seats, but I think that this is actually an upgrade to the regular Ergohuman, just for me personally. I think that the backrest is more comfortable. I think that the recline is more comfortable. I like the seat a lot. The arms are good. And so I actually think that this is going to be a slight upgrade to the standard Ergohuman, even though I think it might cost less. But overall, I was pleasantly surprised with this chair, especially for a mesh seat. So I'm going to be at an A-.
Yeah, it definitely has some of those features that are standout. Like the arms are amazing, really nice padding. They're not maybe quite at an Aeron level, but they're close there. I really like that supportive lumbar support. Has some flexibility so you can still move around. I'm going to be at a B+. I do, like Greg, I kind of prefer that Ergohuman with the leather seat. But again, if you want all mesh, this is one to look at. We're going to be at an A- all totaled.
The HON Altern is a new chair that we brought in recently, and I actually had high expectations on this one just because I do like the ignition chair that they offer for a very affordable price. I don't get the same vibes from this chair, though, unfortunately. I talked about how I didn't like how you're in a permanent recline with the HOLLUDLE chair. The HON is actually worse. You are reclined a significant amount. You can't really do much tasking if you want to work upright on the chair. The headrest has no adjustability to it whatsoever, and it just kind of feels firm all around. Just not a ton of redeeming qualities, so I'm going to give this one a D+.
Yeah, what Ryan meant to say is this is the alternative to the ignition chair. Yeah, so big problem there for me is that headrest that you can't adjust because it just doesn't go high enough, so it ends up hitting me kind of in like a top vertebrae here. The seat is nice, though. I do like kind of the cushion feel to it. Has, again, a kind of a good balance of that support, but still feeling nice and plush. Another problem I have with it is it just has that feeling where you're always reclined back. I can never feel like I'm able to sit straight up in it, even if you lock it in place. So to me, that's kind of a big problem. I'm going to be at a low C.
Yeah, I think the seat on this one and the backrest when reclined are really comfortable, right? Like it's got that big back. It feels like it's got pretty good like support in the mesh, but it does have that slight recline feel. The armrests themselves are kind of like bricked. Like they're just really, really firm. It has seat depth adjustment, which is a nice thing. And again, it's a HON product, so you hope that it's going to hold up better. But honestly, I think this can probably hold up just as well as some of those chairs that were around $200. I like the seat pad, but that drawback on that headrest not being adjustable, the armrests really aren't that adjustable. I'm just going to give it a C tier because the seat and the back are comfortable to sit for me for longer periods, but it's nothing over the top. So I think that's going to leave us right around a C overall, C, C-.
The SIHOO S300, this is one of those chairs where they really packed in a lot of kind of innovative different things, but to me, they maybe went a little bit too far. I do kind of like how the backrest feels initially, where you have a ton of just flexibility. You can really move around, but what happens is that doesn't ever really lock in place. So you always kind of feel like you're putting a little bit of tension in your gut to kind of hold yourself in place, and over time, that doesn't feel so great. I do like how the headrest is kind of built into the backrest, so if you do want to recline back and kind of lean into that, there is a nice kind of space for your neck and head there. A little bit short on the seat depth, though, which is kind of always a problem, especially with a mesh chair. That is a big problem. So for me, I'm going to be at a C-.
This is the prime example of sometimes too much is just too much. I mean, like this chair has so many different things, but a lot of the things it has I would never use. And these armrests are it's just an absolute deal breaker. I don't understand why some of the companies continue to put this on the back of their arm pads. It makes absolutely no sense. Unless you're going to put your arms way forward like this, it is always going to make it so it's not a flat surface. And then they naturally want to pop up like this, which is just a huge annoyance. I'm going to just put this at a D+. I don't think it's an F tier, but I think if you actually remove some of the features on it, I would actually like this chair more.
Yeah, for me, it's the definition of a chair being gimmicky for the sake of being gimmicky. They added things to it to make it different and stand out, but they don't add to the chair. They just take away from the chair. And I honestly had a hard time not just putting it in straight F tier because the arms are so bad that I would never be able to use the chair. But the seat is okay. The backrest is okay. So I'm going to give it a D tier, which is going to put us at a D tier overall.
The Aeron Remastered chair. Now, this is a huge upgrade over the Classic. You guys have probably seen plenty of the tier lists where I've ranked an F tier for the Classic because it's just unsittable for me. Everything that they've changed on this chair was an improvement, specifically in the seat for sure. Getting rid of that foam pad in the front makes it more comfortable. The tilt function on this thing is absolutely ridiculous. It is one of the best, if not the best. So if you're going to want to rock back and forth on the chair, it's great. And these arm pads, they are like top tier. There's not a more soft pad that's more durable than this one that'll actually hold up. And that's kind of what it comes down to. You're going to get comfort, and you're going to get excellent comfort for a very long time because the mesh that they use on this holds up super well. I'm going to go B+.
Yeah, the Aeron's a tough one for me just because there's things on it that I think it does better than any other chair on the market. So the recline, that harmonic tilt recline, is unbelievable. It's the most comfortable, smoothest action you're ever going to find on a recline. I absolutely love it. I really, really like the lumbar support on it as well. Really unique system, the Posture Fit SL, the best mesh that you can buy on the market. And then I do think the arms, like Greg said, are top tier. The adjustment ranges are massive, and the pads themselves are the most comfortable pads in the entire industry. The reason that I cannot push this to an A tier is because of the seat, and it still has that kind of like bucket style design. I'm going to be at a B+ on this one just because I think it does some things excellent. I just can't get it into A tier because of that seat frame.
I've always kind of been the highest one on the Aeron, and I remain that way. I'm going to be at an A. I do agree with all these things where it basically is the best in class for so many different areas, whether it's the seat, the mesh, the lumbar. It's so good in all those areas. The one problem for me is I do wish I had a little more ability to sit in different seating positions, so that's why just that hard frame can be a problem for that. If I want to kick one foot up under the other or under my leg, you just can't do that because that hard frame is going to restrict that. But if I just want to focus and really sit nice and ergonomically and focus on my work, this is probably the best chair for that. So for me, it's going to be an A. It's going to average out, what are we going to have here? A B+.
The Humanscale Freedom is a chair that could be A tier for me without question if it just simply didn't have the recline function that it has. Like, I love the seat pad, the back pad, the flexibility of the chair, the way that the backrest pivots. I think the arm pads are comfortable enough. I wish that they had more adjustability, and I don't like that they move in tandem. The headrest is great. It's huge. It's got a great curve. It's really adjustable, so it's going to fit pretty much anyone in the chair. I get it. The whole point of the Freedom is that it has a very unique recline that allows you to keep your eyes forward through the entire recline, so you never have to stop tasking. For me, that function just ruins it because it is so uncomfortable for me to use that function that I would just never be able to use this chair. I just have to bring this down all the way to a C+ just because I would not be able to use this chair for long hours simply because of the recline function.
So we're going to be very different here. I actually really like the chair because of that recline function. So this is definitely a preference thing. I've spent a ton of time in the Freedom. I really like how I can recline and the headrest kind of holds your head and neck in a position where you can continue to look at your monitor while you're reclining. And I like how I can get the backrest raised into just the right spot so that the lumbar hits me in the right region. And again, contrary to Ryan, I actually like how the arms move together because I always keep mine together anyways. And a little bit less adjustability can sometimes be nice because there's less movement overall. So I'm going to be at a B for the Freedom.
This is a chair that I have spent a ton of time trying to like because there is a lot of things that I think that I would like. I like the pivoting backrest on it. I think it's got really good lower support, kind of moves around with you when you're in the chair. I do like the fact that I'm not locked in because I don't like to really generally lock chairs in unless it's a back stop limiting feature, so it's free floating. The T-Rex arms, I wish they were a little bit bigger. The crink of the neck I could never figure out, so when I use this in a recline position, I'd always be more like up from fully back in the chair. But because of the sound, the sound, it almost like takes away because that is comfort, right? Like sound being annoying is annoying. And so this is the noisiest chair I've ever sat in. It is unfortunately just an average chair overall because it's got some really good stuff and it's got some things that I don't like. I'm going to go C tier here. I think we're actually going to end up right in the C tier with kind of the average of the scores.
The Secretlab Titan Evo. This is the XL version we have here. The XL version does help me a little bit because it gives me a little more room. It keeps me away from some of those bolsters that are on the chair, but unfortunately it does have a very firm seat. It has a firm backrest. One redeeming feature, it does have pretty soft armrests, so those pads on there are pretty nice. The headrest is nice and cush. So I can't go too low because again, there's some other chairs that I put much lower than this, but I'm gonna have to go with a C- on this.
Yeah, this chair, it was on my tour of redemption. So at one point I F-tiered this chair, but I realized that there are chairs like the SIHOO M18 that are significantly worse from this chair, and you can actually use this one. Just know that the seat is incredibly firm. The backrest is very, very firm. I know they've got the lumbar adjustments in there to sort of get you some curve to it, but it's very straight feeling. The headrest on here is nice and comfy. The armrests are decent, but again, this is the XL, so it won't fit me quite as well as the standard, so that would be more of what my rank would be against. I just think that the chair is too hard for me personally, so for that reason, I'm just going to give it a D tier. I can use it, I just can't use it for super long.
I think the Titan Evo is just such a tough chair because it's definitely an upgrade to like a standard gaming chair, which is clearly going to be an F tier. The problem is that this one still has the major problems that all the racers do. The backrest is brutal. It is a flat back design aside from the lumbar. So everywhere else but the lumbar is flat back. It doesn't have any type of natural curve. Your upper back is not being supported the way that it should. Yes, it's tall enough, but it's just not a good, comfortable chair in the back at all for me. It is a very, very firm seat, one of the hardest seats we have in the entire office. And then the recline, I just don't really like the recline a lot. My feet do come up when I recline in the chair. So is it an F tier chair? No, but it's definitely a D chair for me. So we're going to be in the D tier overall.
The first time that this has been on the comfort list, the Libernovo Omni, not to be confused with the Liver King, very close in how it sounds. This chair is actually quite incredible when it comes to comfort. I was actually the first one. I know Robert uses this chair the most in the office, but I was the first one to actually get the chance to try this out. I love the seat pad on this. If you like a thick seat pad, it's got this 3 different density levels, nice and soft in the front, medium in the middle, and it's the firmest towards your tailbone, gives you really great support. The only thing is it gets a little bit hot. Same thing in the backrest. It's got that ridiculous cush. The headrest is definitely S tier. I like the armrests a lot because they're so adaptive. Now, the only thing I'll say with this chair, the reason why I don't give this one an S tier is because the softness of the seat. I know I said it's a great thing, but for me, I just get way too hot in this chair. So if you're someone who overheats, I could see that being a problem. Otherwise, incredible lumbar support, super adjustable armrest. And this thing is like the most deep recline out of any chair that you're gonna find that's not a gaming chair. So like if you wanna kick back and really relax with this one, you're gonna get it. So I'm gonna go A tier on this.
Yeah, if we're just looking pure comfort on this chair and we just remove all the questions about the extra things that have been added and the newness of the company, I think that it's very difficult to find a chair in this price range that's going to be just more comfortable. As soon as you sit in the chair, it's almost like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting to feel that amount of softness everywhere. Like the headrest is soft, the backrest is soft, the seat is soft. For me, you do sink in a little bit too much on the seat, but definitely not the headrest or the back, but you still get that soft feeling. It's crazy flexible, so you can move around, very, very adjustable. The only reason that I would not put this in S tier for comfort is simply because the armrests don't adjust well enough for me to use it with my mouse the way that I use my computers. But this chair is insanely comfortable, especially for the price that they're charging for it right now. I'm going to be at an A+ on this one for comfort.
Yeah, so it's kind of rare to find an actual thicker padded seat or backrest that still has the flexibility, but the Libernovo kind of manages to do it, and that's one of the reasons why I just really love this chair. Again, it has that kind of narrow backrest, similar to maybe like the Embody, where you do have that support in your middle back, and then it also has the openness to be able to flex. I'm sitting in one right now here. Greg's showing you how that traction stretch mode works. Personally, I don't really use it as where it's just running back and forth, but it does have that nice ability to move it into the position you like and then leave it there. So headrest, also great padding on there and great adjustability to get it in the right spot. So for me, if you couldn't tell already, I'm going to put this in S tier. When we put together my S and 2 A's, we are at A+.
Wrapping up the list, we have the BTOD Lamia. So this is going to be the Leap chair with the Amia seat replaced instead of the Leap seat. So for me personally, I actually like the Leap seat a little bit more than the Amia seat. This chair was created because a lot of people share the opposite opinion. So we kind of combined the chairs with both options so you could pick and choose. I just like the Leap seat better. It's more flexible. I like the contour on it better. For me, it actually feels softer. The Amia seat feels a little bit more concave where you're sitting on top of it instead of sitting in it. Otherwise, wise, you're getting a crazy good chair. I mean, it's still a Leap chair. The backrest is incredible. The recline, great. Everything about the chair is great. I just can't give it an S tier because, in my opinion, we've downgraded a little bit by going to that Amia seat. So I'm going to be at an A+.
You take what I think is an S tier seat from the Amia, put it on the Leap, and this makes this an S tier chair because you're going to have the S tier arms, S tier seat, A or close to S backrest. So some of all those parts are going to be an S tier. We finished the list strong with that Libernovo Omni. These are the two chairs that I spend pretty much all my time in.
This chair is just a creation that came up from just putting different combinations together because I like that Amia seat pad so much. And it's just over time, it's crazy to see the reviews of people who have kind of struggled with the same thing with the Leap seat, finding success in this chair and finding it to be where it's their most comfortable chair they've ever had. For me, it's the same thing. Now that we do the extra padding too on this, it softened up that seat even more, which I'm going to have to say, like Ryan said, S+ before. I'm going to go God tier plus. If there was such a thing, it has now elevated itself even more. And again, just a really solid option for anybody who's looking maybe for a little bit different sit in the Leap chair. This might be your better alternative. So overall, I think that puts us right around, did you give it an S?
S.
Okay, so that's going to put us in an S tier. Let's go. Hopefully you guys like the list. If you disagree or you want to drop some comments, some chairs you want to see us rank in the next one, drop it down in the comments section. We'll see you on the next one.